favourite quote is by a guy called Anthony DeMello, and it's this: you have to understand, my dears, that the shortest distance between truth and a human being is a story. I find that to be so unbelievably true. If there's one thing that human beings have done from the beginning of time, beyond basic physical bodily functions, it would be to tell stories. I'm sure of that. It's what we do. It's what we do with each other, and more importantly, it's what we do with ourselves. It's the way that we make sense out of, or try to make sense out of everything. It's the way we connect to everything. It's the way we relate to everything. The reason you buy something in the shop is because you buy the story that the company is selling. The reason you do the things you do in your life, the reason I do the things I do in my life, is because I've sold myself a story about them. I've sold myself a story about how it's going to make me happy and how it's going to work out, and I predicted the ending, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful because when I create the story, that's how I create the fuel that drives me as the character to move forward. Without it, I find it very difficult to do anything. So the question becomes, what story am I telling myself? And more importantly, how is it going? You know, is the story of my life a drama? Is it a tragedy? Is it a horror? Is it a comedy? And what power do I have to change it, if any? I think for some people, the story they tell themselves for sure is not their own. And perhaps it's that way for most people. You know, society has a story, your culture has a story, your parents for sure have a story. You develop a story in adolescence. Even within myself, I wouldn't at all say I was a singular personality. I know that makes me sound crazy. There's the story of my emotions, there's the story of my past, there's the story of who I am today, there's the story of my ideals and what's happened to me, and everything I've seen and experienced and perceived all meshes together. For a long time I was pursuing the narrative that I had in my head about myself and about my life and who I was, the things I wanted and what would make me happy and the type of character that I was, and I ran with it. I completely ran with it. And I got to the places where I thought I wanted to go. My life effectively crumbled. I say effectively crumbled. It did crumble. My inner world, my psyche, my sense of self, elements of character and plot, the story can only go one of a few directions. Once your foundation is set, you can only go in a few directions. Within that, sure, a few things can happen. Like in any movie, a few things can happen. Once you know the type of movie and you've seen the first 20 minutes and you understand, okay, this is what this movie is about, there is room to play within those confines, but ultimately, either they're going to save the world or they're not going to save the world. They're going to get together or they're not going to get together. They're going to this, they're going to that. But what happens to some people at certain parts of their life is the foundation on which the story was developed crumbles, and the first principles of the story crumble, and you're left with nothing. You're halfway through and the screen just completely goes black. You can't see the end, you don't know where you are, and it's chaos, it's absolute chaos, and it's a mental breakdown. But it's also the biggest gift that I have probably ever received in my life. The genuine chance to start again from scratch, from the foundation. Most people don't get that. They don't get that because they don't have the first part. They don't have the breaking of the foundation. Because a lot of people fail at life. We all fail, it's part of life. But a lot of people, they fail at an acceptable level throughout time. And so they always can kind of continue, you know. Some people fail so spectacularly that they implode. You know, the ego cannot think of a justification or a new idea or a new plan quick enough in the light of some blow up that you go into this state of just despair, like true despair. And the idea of it being darkest before the dawn, like if you survive that, you enter this place that is, you know, life after death, in a very literal sense, you know, where everything is new again, where you have a completely open field and you can plant what you want. And it's a very scary prospect, but it's a beautiful prospect at the same time. And if this happens to you, I mean, know that you're not alone. At this crossroads, this experience has been written about. Carl Jung called it the ego death. It's been called other things like different people and mystics and teachers. It's a gift. And if you haven't experienced it and you wonder, I mean, I would ask you to question what's the foundation of who you think you are. Because who I thought I was turned out to be complete nonsense. I'm not any of the things that I thought I was.